Let's go ahead and get started. My name is James. I represent FluidCloud. We are a startup that's focused on cloud and making it easy to use any cloud provider that you like. We're really happy to partner with Vultr, and I've been working in this cloud space for about 13 years. And one of the things that I really love about Vultr is it's just super easy to use and pretty inexpensive relative to the other options. And so one of the things we really like about what we can do with FluidCloud is help people move to Vultr really quickly from what other cloud providers they're on. So I want to show you a little bit about that. So first of all, I'll talk a little bit about why you might want to do that. Our developers for our FluidCloud, when they first started, they use all the cloud providers. So we use AWS, Google, Azure, and some of the other ones out there as well. But one of the things we loved about Vultr is it's very fast. The APIs are very clean. And so it's just simpler to learn and get started with Vultr than it has been with any of the other clouds out there. So just hearing from my developers that they love using Vultr Cloud compared to the other clouds, that's a good testament to like, okay, this isn't just some marketing. The developer experience day to day using the cloud is actually pretty good. The second thing is around the managed Kubernetes and database offerings. A lot of the kind of smaller clouds out there that compared to some of the bigger clouds, you think, oh, they only have like bare metal servers or something like that. But Vultr actually has managed databases, managed Kubernetes, a CDN offering, Kafka, Valkey, which is the open source Redis service. So they have a very large set of building blocks that you can use to build almost any kind of application. So it's a pretty complete cloud. And I personally believe that something like Vultr Cloud should be a part of anybody's multi-cloud strategy, because you're going to have these premium clouds that a lot of people have gotten started with, like the big three that everyone thinks of, but those are very expensive and they kind of lock you in. And so with something like Vultr Cloud, you can have a very easy, simple to use cloud, especially for development purposes, or access to things like AI from NVIDIA. They have an excellent set of AI offerings. And so all of these reasons have made it attractive for our development team to use Vultr Cloud. So another reason, and this is, is financial. So this is a scenario with about 100 virtual machines. I don't know how many virtual machines and how much compute you use in your organization, but you can kind of approximate your total number of virtual machines and then maybe get an idea of how much savings you could have. So in this particular scenario, there's these are the different instance sizes. They're kind of modest size, 2 vCPUs at 4 gigabytes of RAM. And then so you'd have basically 200 vCPUs and the same multiplier for the RAM. And then we're calculating the price of the compute, network, and storage primitives and how much that costs to run on these various clouds. And so, for the big three out there, you see they're roughly in the same neighborhood. And does anyone have a guess about the total cost of Vultr Cloud compared to this? Anyone in the audience want to make a guess? Would you say, what would be an impressive number if you could get down to, let's say, if you could save $5,000, would that be impressive? That'd be pretty impressive, right? Well, with Vultr Cloud, this scenario is $2,000. So that's somewhere between a 14 to 15x savings. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case for every single workload you have, but this particular scenario is very, very standard. 2 CPUs, 4 gigabytes of RAM, some storage, and some network access, right? These are raw compute network storage primitives, and I can say with confidence, I saw an AWS bill from a customer this week where their charges on their bill, 1/3 of them were for data transfer costs. And so by partnering with Vultr, they're going to save somewhere around 33% just on that point alone. So there's some really compelling reasons to look at it. There's developer experience ones, but the financial ones are a very strong motivator. Okay, so let's talk about, now you might be impressed, okay, how could I try this out? So FluidCloud actually makes it easy to go from whatever cloud provider you're on to try out Vultr Cloud. And so the way we do this is we look at the compute, network, and storage and related services of the clouds that you're using, and we know how to translate that into equivalent infrastructure in Vultr Cloud. In the past, this has been a manual effort that consultants that know both clouds can kind of like walk you through, but they do it on like a project by project basis. And the whole point of FluidCloud is that we want to automate this and make this very straightforward. So if you're familiar with AWS or Azure or GCP, that's fine. You can describe your infrastructure that way, the way you know how, and we can translate that into the equivalent infrastructure on Vultr Cloud. And doing this actually can be a fairly complicated effort if you're doing it manually. It can take, in some cases, weeks, and you can go ask a chat bot like ChatGPT, how long would it take to migrate this much, like 100 VMs, like that scenario we were looking at earlier, over to another cloud provider, and they'll typically tell you weeks and tens of thousands of dollars in consultants' hours. We're going to be able to automate this in minutes, so that can make it very quick. Okay, and let's walk through the workflow, how this works. So we scan your current cloud account, and we know the infrastructure that you have. That could be VMware, or it could be any of the other big cloud providers. We convert that into the equivalent infrastructure on Vultr Cloud, and then we give you the infrastructure as code that you can either run yourself in your CI/CD pipelines, or we can run it on your behalf and create the infrastructure in Vultr Cloud. So it's a pretty straightforward process. And one of the unique things is because we're doing this across multiple providers, we can give you cloud governance across the whole set of your cloud providers, right? Not just Vultr Cloud, but also the other providers that you're on. So that's the pretty straightforward workflow. It's not very complicated. We look at what you have, we convert it into Vultr, and then we give you the overall picture across multiple providers. All right. So what are the benefits you get? So you get the end-to-end portability. No matter what cloud you started on, you can take that to go someplace else. So that's something, it's kind of in our name. FluidCloud means we believe your workloads should be fluid. You should be able to move them to the place that you want to move them. One of the things we do when we are scanning your infrastructure, we give you built-in resilience. So we're scanning this infrastructure all the time in the background. It's a little bit like Time Machine for Apple storage, where you can go backwards and forwards in time, like to a week back or a month back in your configuration. You can do that with your cloud configurations as well with FluidCloud. We have the ability to compare costs between those providers. So earlier how we were describing the difference in the cost between, let's say, some of those big three providers and Vultr Cloud, you can see that right in our user experience. And then finally, we have policy controls. So if you have controls on security, let's say databases should be encrypted, or we don't want to have our virtual machines open to the internet, or whatever security policies you want, we have a bunch of those policies in the box, and we can be recommending, hey, don't let this virtual machine be open to the world. That's against our security policies. So what are the next steps? For us, I would recommend really looking at your development environments. That's something that's a really easy win. It's pretty low risk for people. They don't have their production data in those environments. And so when we talk to customers, that's a really easy way to try out get the savings, to see, can I really save this money? Is it really as compelling as these slides make it look? Well, give it a try in your development environment. It's a pretty low cost way. And the other thing, like I mentioned, I know from experience that our developers really enjoy using Vultr Cloud. So you're likely going to have a good experience from your developers because the VMs start faster. I'll give you an example. When we demo our product and we move from one cloud to another, when we demo on some of the other clouds, it'll take maybe 3 to 5 times as long to do the migration. When we demo it on Vultr Cloud, it's usually done in a minute or 2. So we always try to demo Vultr Cloud because it's the fastest demo. So that's another reason why you should look at your development environments. So another great reason, you can lower your bill. Okay, so if you're not motivated by anything else, saving money is a pretty good reason. We know that some customers out there have been talking to us about they have a very large virtualization provider that has been increasing their prices and made it hard for them, and they want options to move out of that virtualization provider. So, if you're experiencing that kind of thing with some virtualization solutions out there, we can help with that. And then the last reason is if you're doing some AI experimentation, the AI offerings on Vultr are excellent. They have great NVIDIA offerings. They have great offerings from AMD. So give them a look for your AI experimentation as well. You might be asking, what about data and what about my applications? So we have options to help move the data out of your databases or object storage or other types of data as well. That's not a big deal. And then we don't modify your application layer at all. So if you have things like in your applications that talk directly to cloud provider APIs or your observability tools, that's something that we don't take care of. That's something that you should be aware of. I just want to make that straightforward. But you don't have to change your applications to change your infrastructure here with us. And that's the end of the talk today. We have a booth over here with live demos. If you want to take a look in more detail here, come talk to us about your cloud challenges, which cloud providers you're working with. Harshit, Kanishk, and I are all over there. And I guess we're going to do a raffle now?
Yes, so you can pick up the winner.
Okay, I'm going to pick the winner here. Drum roll, please. The number is 879. That's you. All right. Congratulations. And thanks for your time. I'll be hanging around later if anyone wants to talk to us. And thank you.
Thanks so much.